Yeah, it's my everyday carry.
So that's how I use it. So my wages get paid still into my Barclays, or my direct debits still come out my Barclays. Right?
Trust.
No,
I wanted to say that.
I'm showing my age here.
Welcome to another episode of Stocklist. Today we're going to be discussing fintech in Africa and also technology that we feel will be changing the world. But before we get straight into it, we're going to introduce our guests.
My name's Jay, part of the Making Sense podcast.
Charles Augustus, part of the Making Sense podcast.
That's it.
Perfect.
So, Ian, do you want to kick off?
All right. So recently we've been hearing a lot about crypto, finances, a lot of movement in Africa from even the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey. He's trying to do a lot in Africa in terms of fintech, moving his Twitter headquarters there, Twitter Africa headquarters there. So we kind of want to get your take on how you feel about technology, future technologies in Africa, financial technologies in Africa, and where we're going with things, you know? Yeah. So I'll let you begin because you're the tech guy.
So fintech's an interesting space in Africa. I was looking at something. It said that of all the businesses within Africa right now, the ones most likely to get funded are those from the fintech space, and it's literally miles difference from any other kind of industry versus fintech. And why fintech's most interesting in Africa is because of the problem it tries to solve. And that's basically trying to bring banking to what they call the unbanked, so the number of people who are not using any kind of banking service whatsoever.
The unbanked.
The unbanked.
Okay.
Exactly. So you have the unbanked, you have the underbanked. So the unbanked, literally, there's no bank service whatsoever. The underbanked is just not getting enough banking services. They could get more than they'll get as much as they could do. And it's for different reasons, right? I guess one of the key things to do when we think about fintech is rather than it's to kind of understand fintech broadly what it is, and then it helps us better understand why it's relevant within a place like within Africa, you know. Okay. And I don't want to do that thing where we turn Africa into a country. So I'm going to break it down even further.
Before you go deep into that, we need to let people know what fintech stands for and what it is before we go into it, because some people will just switch off because
exactly,
it's a technical term to some people, isn't it? So
exactly, you know, it's literally just an abbreviation of financial technology. You know, it's effectively the use of technology to deliver financial services to those in need of it. You know? And if you think of financial services, one of the simplest ways to start was through your bank, right? So you go to your bank. There's different things you can do. You have a current account where you can make payments in, and you can make payments out of. You can get lending services from your bank. You can get a mortgage. You get credit. If you're investing, you can do investing as well, not just as a consumer, but also businesses. Yeah. Right. So there's multiple different things which you can do in terms of working within a financial institution, not just a bank, but any kind of financial institution. What the financial technology companies look to do is they actually come in and start to find out where things aren't quite working right now, and find ways to actually decouple that. So if you think of the process of a bank, or a bank is the coupling is usually when the technology company comes in, or a disruptor comes in and says, you know, if it's a bank that does mortgage, lending, investments, payments, current accounts, whatever, how about we just take out one section of that and do it a lot better than they could? You know, use technology to pin it. You know, and that's what different fintech comes in. When we break down fintech, there's 9 key areas. So there's wealth management, there's insure tech, because again, insurance, so insure tech. There's payments, there's banking, which is a subset that's open banking, the ability for you to be able to access details and data from your bank in other apps. There's also, I actually had a full list of this. I'm not going to pretend.
Getting deep today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's let me just pull this up quickly.
So, like, I think an example, like, if you're not familiar with fintech, Monzo.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. Right there, it's a challenger bank, internet-based bank, which is really challenged the incumbent banks.
They really came.
Ones we have now.
They really came for people.
They did. You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally, that's it, right? So you got alternative lending. So we spoke about Klarna the other time. So Klarna buying that falls under alternative lending. You got banking, so you got challenger banks, you got open banking systems. So if you use something like Yolt, I don't know if you guys see the app before. It's a similar thing. You got challenger banks, the likes of Monzo, the likes of Starling, the likes of Revolut. So these are banks whereby the way you access them is through a mobile app. You know, you get a card, there's no physical branches. You know, you then have blockchain and crypto, you have the capital markets, insurance, payments, real estate, small, medium businesses. Under there, start having things like Square come into play and PayPal. Because they're doing stuff for businesses.
Can I ask, why do you think traditional banks haven't taken an approach that these fintech companies are taking? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why are they so slow?
Age of leadership, I think.
Age of leadership.
I think leadership in these people are probably really old, really stuck in their ways. And are just late to the party now. I know you probably have a better idea. I'm surprised that there's not been more acquisition at this stage. I would have thought like a Barclays and NatWest would have bought a Monzo or Starling by now.
But you'd be surprised because I think it's RBS, which is obviously NatWest, are behind Starling. I think, or they back Starling.
Surprised me.
That's one that I know.
I expected them to be gobbled up by now.
That own a lot of these.
Not even that fully own them, but are backing them.
Are backing them.
You know what I'm saying?
They're starting to respond though. So I've noticed my Barclays card. It's starting to now. I'll get notifications when I spend. That was on Monzo. Little things. So they are responding. But it just seems slow to me.
For me, the explanation I had, because I worked in the bank when Monzo and these things were coming. I worked in the head office, and what I realized is that the bureaucracy is what was holding us back from competing with like the likes of Monzo and stuff. You understand? Because these are small, agile teams. They make decisions like that. Whereas when I was at Barclays, we had to consult the team lead, who has to go speak to the director, who speaks to the MD, who then speaks to someone else, and then it comes all the way back down, and then we make a decision. Then we action. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas these guys are just turning things over every week. Every week they're releasing like updates every single week. Do you know what I'm saying?
If you think about it, the risk to a large incumbent bank like a Barclays to get something wrong versus a Monzo.
Big, therefore.
You know, and I think that's part of the problem, right? They said the agility is a key one. It's a lot easier to come in and disrupt a market when you can respond to the things a lot easier, you can use technology a lot better. Some of these older banks weren't really built to be digital anywhere, digital first. You know, they were built to be something else. So the ways in which they can actually combat this is either to invest in...
And that's what I expected.
Exactly, in some of them, or something that Goldman Sachs did. They built out their own digital offering called Marcus. You know, and what they did, they actually incubated a challenger bank within their own company. You know, I mean that itself creates some challenges because you then have culture challenges. You know, you think how we now cannibalize on what we do if we bring in something else into the mix is effectively a competitor to ours. You know, but then at the same time, I think we probably will get to a point where we start seeing acquisitions occur. You know, so if you look at the fintech timeline, the first thing we had was decoupling of services. So Monzo came in and said we're just going to do a payment card. Now Monzo does business banking, do overdraft.
Insurance.
Exactly.
Insurance.
So you can insure stuff through Monzo, It's like £5 a month.
And that's literally what happened. So a lot of these companies, even the Square came out, it was just a payment terminal. Onto your phone, right?
Now they got the big thing.
And now Square's become, and that's what happened, because what happened with a lot of these fintech companies is they started doing one service, and then it's always that question of what else could we do based on what we're doing so far. So what's the adjacent possible? So they said, okay, well, we can go from being a mono service to being a multi-service. That became the next phase. So it was the decoupling, and it became the mono to multi. And then they said, well, actually, we've got data. Let's say we're doing insurtech over here. We've got data, and you're doing a banking app over there. Once we sync our data, start doing integrations was the next phase. And then the phase we now have is what was effectively a recoupling phase, where now there's the bigger players in the space are now going up and saying, actually, we're just going to acquire others. And that's what we saw with Square Afterpay. Where they turn and say, well, actually, we're doing payments in Cash App. We're doing stuff with our sellers ecosystem. They have the Square Bank, because Square really wants to be the first digital
offering
bank.
crypto-free Cash App as well.
Exactly. Exactly. So basically, you can trade crypto, you can trade shares and stocks, you know, through Cash App. You know, you can do payments as well. So a lot more than just payments.
Yeah.
So when you look at
acquisition of Tidal as well, which I'll touch on later.
Okay. But again, it's interesting because then you start to ask the question, because there's a notion called the super app, which you have a lot in China. So if you ever deal with
WeChat.
Exactly, where you can do everything in there. You can order food, you can do your banking, you can message, you can. Yeah. So the question has always been a long time in the fintech space right now is which one the Western companies are most likely to become a super app in themselves and combine services.
Do you see that over here though, like a super app? Have you used WeChat? No. Okay, so
break it down for us, because I've been hearing so much about WeChat and I've never actually used it, but I heard it's a monster.
I don't know what it's like now. So I was using it like maybe 3-4 years ago, right? I had a WhatsApp group and we had a couple tech guys in there. Yeah. One tried to move us to Slack, like when it was early doors. We got the loads of different rooms. This looks great, but no one's using it. Then he moved us to WeChat. I was like, but there's no one else on WeChat apart from us. Every 2 minutes he's suggesting someone from Korea for me to match up to. So I didn't use it that it was crazy. So I didn't use it that much. Like, eventually we just ended up back on WhatsApp. But I have tracked its progress throughout time, and it seems like it is the de facto app in that region of the world. And I just don't know if culturally we would do that here. I don't know. Maybe not. That's the thing.
I think anything's possible here. It just takes the right marketing, it takes the right delivery, and we'll all be on one app. Look how Monzo came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden everyone's got orange cards. Everyone.
So you got Monzo?
I got Monzo.
Is that your main bank account then?
It's my everyday carry.
So that's how I use it. So my wages get paid still into my Barclays, all my direct debits still come at my Barclays. Right?
Trust.
What did you say that?
I'm showing my age here. I was on Monzo when it was called Mondo. So
Damn, I didn't even know that.
Like it's just like eventually I've always said to myself, eventually I will probably go full.
What's held you back from making it your main bank account for your salary?
If I'm totally honest with you, I do like the idea of having two platforms that know different sides of my finances. So I like the fact that, okay, Barclays, you know what my direct debits are, blah, blah, blah. Monzo, you know where I spend my disposable income. For some reason, I like that segregation of information. That's probably all it is, but I'm probably like an overcautious individual. Like, in reality, it probably doesn't mean anything, and I probably should have my salary paid into Monzo. I think it was literally because it was so new. I didn't trust it, and it didn't have banking status at that time as well.
Do they have it now?
I'm pretty sure if they don't have it, they must be close to it. They must be close to it.
If they're offering different services,
I'm pretty sure they have their banking license. It'd be interesting to see if they're covered under the financial compensation scheme.
They are.
So then they must have a banking license. So in reality, my fear is probably irrational, and I should use it as my main account. But I think, I do like having that segregation. Like a bills account and a spending account. That's how I manage my finances. Really. That's
for me, it was just about the rapid management of Monzo. So getting the instant notifications, and there's certain transactions that you make that take 3 days to show up on your account, and other things. Monzo is straight away. So that's why I use my Monzo for everyday purchases, and then I'd manage money, like large chunks of money, in a different bank, like NatWest or a Halifax or something like that. That's it for me.
So if we go back to what you said about the super app kind of thing, I feel like in this country, so for viewers abroad, we're in the UK. You can tell by the accents.
They're in it.
Tones.
I give them my Jamaica accent.
I feel like in this country, they hate someone being a major monopoly. Anything that I remember when I think Sainsbury's or Asda, they wanted to do a merger.
Yeah, they did.
And there was so much noise about it because they were saying that
they'll be too big.
They'll be too big. So I feel like in this country they just hate it. So having a super app, I don't feel like it will work here simply because too many regulations and the people making noise about it, etc.
I think it will just happen over time. It will be a sneaky move. It will be like someone just keeps adding services to one app until eventually they're just too big, and then the regulators will come after them.
Probably Facebook.
Facebook.
I
can know lots about us already.
Yeah. No, you know why you're right.
WhatsApp is Facebook.
They want to bring out Libra-coin.
That's kind of gone back a bit from what it was initially supposed to be.
But that's what's interesting. Again, that's another point. That's another side of the fintech story, because what happens a lot of these tech companies, again, they get so big. And actually, speaking of that, when we talk about the top tech companies, so Microsoft, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and I think even actually maybe not for Netflix. I know the others, they've definitely been in a lot more in terms of acquiring and investing in the fintech space as well.
Yep.
You know, so again, it's the same idea. You know, it's that slow creep where you go in and say, okay, we're gonna get this little company and then build from here and get this little one build. So individually, it doesn't look like anything. But then when you're able to take a step back and consider what the future could look like, you think, well, actually, they might be building something.
Yeah.
I think there's
They had payments actually on WhatsApp. So in India,
that's what I'm saying. Facebook owns a lot, you know. Don't get twisted. Facebook is here, bro.
In India,
If we're gonna have a super app in this country or in the Western world, it's most likely gonna be Facebook. But they're gonna have to overcome regulators because they haven't got the best reputation.
If they're gonna do something, they'll do it in India because there's a lot of trial and error that goes in India.
Everyone does everything in India.
Yeah, and then
free reign.
After that, it will probably be an American market before it even touches the UK market.
Yeah.
But look at how the UK, the Bank of England are responding to even crypto. Something that's happening that fine, pretty, I don't want to say fine like that, but like pretty much okay everywhere else.
Yeah, they're onto it.
Yeah, it's the culture, right? It's a very prudent nation.
Yeah, and I think it's when we talk about crypto, we're moving towards Africa.
That's it.
You know, if you start to recognize that for many different reasons, crypto started to really take off in certain countries. So when we look at fintech in Africa, the three key countries are Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa, where most of the funding goes, where the biggest businesses are. You know, I think something like 89% of investments in the crypto space happens in those three countries. Sorry, in the fintech space, happens in those three countries. You know, and Bitcoin has been huge in Nigeria from what I've seen. But then again, they've faced some regulatory issues. You know. Okay.
So the day that announcement came out, the ban from the Nigerian government or whatever, I was on Clubhouse when it was still popping at the time, and it was like 3 a.m, and there was a room about it, and those guys were so stressed out. And that's when I really understood how much activity there was in the space in Nigeria in terms of crypto, Bitcoin in particular. It was massive.
How did that ban happen? Like, how did it happen? Did it happen gradually, or was it just one day?
I think it was. If I remember correctly, because I remember seeing it when it was on Twitter, and I think it was the Nigeria Central Bank.
It came out with an announcement.
I think it was literally just an announcement.
Literally going to stop trading. You can't trade.
Yeah, it happened overnight.
Yeah, like literally overnight.
That
and
is
then he
mad.
came out a few weeks later because there was so many people making noise about it that he said, "Oh, you know what? I didn't say there's a blanket ban on it, but really and truly, that's what he meant."
But how did they enforce something like that? Do they just lock off Binance or like?
What they've done is they've stopped the banks providing services to crypto companies.
Oh,
that's essentially what they've done. That's how they've stopped it.
Okay,
So individuals can't get money into and out of the space. What's happening to us now with Binance?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's crazy that the Bitcoin, the crypto prices went down during that period. I'm sure loads of institutions were investing money in it.
Like everything in this world, if they can't get a piece of the pie, then they're going to shut it down.
They're going to shut it down. It's nuts.
And that's the thing with fintech. So the three key challenges you always look at is regulatory issues, security, and adoption. Right. So one of the challenges you then have with regulatory is if you're not able to get onto the size of the regulators, you're going to struggle. Why Coinbase has actually been quite successful is that Coinbase actually, in their strategy was to be regulatory friendly first, whereas Binance was completely
completely different.
You know, but the funny thing is that for a long time, I actually thought Coinbase was a bigger platform. Until I went on to...
I got that surprise as well. I see that Binance is #1 crypto exchange.
Exactly. And you see the number of customers coming out of Africa utilizing it. And for different reasons, you know, the decline of cash, you know, inflation, you know, if you look at what's happening to the currencies across the African countries, you know, being devalued regularly, you know, so you're looking at something that's going to be, I guess, a hedge against inflation that's going to at least help you retain as much of your buying power as possible.
Yeah.
You know, so basically, when I kind of look at the fintech space in Africa, it's something that's getting a lot of investment. It's continuing to grow. What I always say is, I always ask 3 questions: is if there's a new innovation in the market, I ask myself, how does this impact the work I do every single day? So how can I go work for them and earn within the space? How does it impact the way I live my life? So as a consumer and the user of products, how will it impact me? And then also, how can I invest in this? You know, so if something's going to grow, how can I also get a piece of the pie?
100%.
You know? And right now, a lot of Western companies, you know, you've got Accenture that's invested in a company out of Nigeria called Okra, which I think they specialize in open banking systems.
Okay.
You know, the crypto, then you have Flutterwave, who I believe, I can't remember how much it was, they just raised recently, and I think Stripe, which is a very big payments. They just bought a company.
Fees are ridiculous.
Stripe is mad.
They just bought.
We used it in for like
Wix. We used to take payments on Wix, and they just rob. Honestly, mad expensive. But sorry, as you were saying,
what you said there, right? And I think that's what individuals. So people watching this, if you're kind of thinking, why is it relevant to you? I think it's just literally that. How could you maybe get a job in this space? You know, how could it maybe, if you're sending money back home, how could one of these fintech apps make your life cheaper or easier? And how could you possibly get exposure and invest in it, right? Because I personally think it's the absolute future, right? If you look at it, like Africa has an emerging young demographic of people. The future of the world is Africa. If you look at it, like Japan, Europe, all have massive aging populations. We're dying out. People aren't having kids and they're living longer.
Why China is offering so much credit to these African countries.
Exactly, right? So there's going to be loads of people on the continent. Right, so that's customers. So the investment is going to be there. And one thing I found pretty interesting about all this is the idea of helping Africa kind of skip the early industrial revolutions that Europe and America went through and go straight to the technological revolution.
And that's what's going to
happen. I would love for that to happen. And my only kind of, and I think on the pre-call we had, like my question is around, is the infrastructure there? Like to really touch everyone? Can we really bank all of the unbanked, especially the ones in rural areas that might be getting 2G right now versus 5G in your city centre?
So so if we talk about, so I'll get into the internet side of things in a bit, but if we talk about, let's say, the banking space, I feel like, what Ian said earlier, Jack Dorsey, him being, let's say, pretty much the face of a lot of companies because he's such a big name. Him bringing the Twitter HQ to Ghana, I think that's an experiment, not for Twitter, but for Square.
Okay.
And also bringing Jay-Z on board, the acquisition of Tidal, personally, I don't believe that he's going to do much with Tidal. I think the acquisition of Tidal is pretty much to get Jay-Z on board to help him break into Africa. And with that, Square are just going to try and replace the whole mobile banking thing that they've got going on in Africa right now. And
I can hear that.
With Jack Dorsey seeing that no company is taking that risk to go and try and bring the mobile banking to Africa right now, I feel like it's just a smart move. It just makes sense.
It's an open playing field.
Yeah.
And I feel like, obviously, the people that are doing like fintech or form of fintech are the mobile companies, MTN, Vodafone with like mobile money and stuff.
Mobile money, sorry.
They're not official like financial, you know what I mean, institutions. So when people like Square come into the game and they have the experience from the first world, I think they can make waves. That's number one. Number two is touching on what you said about infrastructure. I do believe infrastructure is getting better. I don't know how long it will take to get to a point where everybody's reachable, like all the villages. But when you have things like Starlink, who are skipping the whole what do you call it? Fiber optic cables and just going straight for satellite. We could see something there.
Something as simple as, let's forget about the like the banks and stuff like that for a second. 3-4 years ago, I would have never imagined Ubers being able to run in Africa. Simply because there's not
that's
a lot of street names, addresses are not there.
Myth. Myth.
So now that Uber's running in Africa, and now there's so much, Bolt as well is in Africa. So
and it works.
It works.
Like we can attest to that. Like literally, it works. There's some few.
This is what I love the most about. I love my people.
I won't go too deep. But go on.
I've heard stories of Uber.
Oh really?
Some Mazeline stuff.
He will come, but he comes. Just give him
Anyway,
but the great thing about this is like when you look at the problem, you go almost I take it back to first principle. So if you look at saying, okay, well, this is how we built it out in the West, you know, and how do we replicate the same building blocks in a new space, any new space, right? Let's say, you know, across Africa, you know, one thing I do is understand the context of the land of where you're going to, the people, the environment, the cultures, and certain things don't translate as well. If you're saying to yourself, okay, so what's the basic points we need to remember? So it's like, how do we connect people? Well, the way we connected people in the West was through the telephone, the telegram, telephone, then became internet, and we did it that way. Well, actually, we haven't got the same infrastructure there, but we've got mobile phones instead, which connects people. So So let's use that. And so you start to go back and say, what do we actually have on ground here, and how do we use that to build the infrastructure to get to the same endpoint, but we're now using just the raw materials that's available in this space, and that's what a lot of them are going to do. One interesting on the Square bit with Jack is that he talks about how Square was able to enter new regions and the challenges they've been faced with trying to do so. So South America, they went to Australia, they went to Japan, UK. But in Australia, they really felt a lot of pushback from the traditional banking sector. So one thing that he actually turned and says, actually, I'm going to build a bank of the future, but to get past the regulatory bodies and all the pushback, I'm going to build it on the blockchain. And actually, I don't need to replace Bitcoin because Bitcoin is already the current thing for the blockchain. I'm just going to use Bitcoin already. So his thinking is already one of, I'm going to go global. I'm going to build a super bank globally. I'm going to do so in a way where I don't have to go and get permission.
Yep.
I can just simply just...
That's why the acquisition of Bitcoin, his purchase of Bitcoin just made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he knows, like you said, Bitcoin, crypto is the future, and you don't need the licenses and stuff like that as well.
It's like, why do I need to recreate anything? Like, everyone's creating new coins, everyone's trying to own it. Just use the coin that's already
use the main coin,
Do you guys really think regulators in Africa will let this happen though? Because, so I'd say I'm obviously the only Jamaican right now, and also like my knowledge of Africa is very secondary.
Okay, well, fair enough.
So that's why I kind of asked the question. Like, one thing I do get the sense of though is that leadership is quite detached from the people. So you got a very old leadership class and a very young population, and there seems to always be friction there. Right? So do you think those old leaders will allow crypto to come in and chop them?
I think So I forgot what it's called, but basically the Ghana president is the head of.
Kufadu or something.
He's the head of something. I forgot the name of the. It's really bad. I forgot the name, but he's the head of. What does it change? The changes that will happen in Africa. He's the head of that, and I feel like he's very knowledgeable about what's going on in the UK, and he was even here last week. I saw him here last week. Yeah, he was literally behind my car.
That is one thing I can attest to. The fact that he is quite knowledgeable on the future, basically.
Yeah, so like, for example, when he brought this is off topic, a little bit off topic, but when he brought the what's the thing he done in 2019?
The return.
The return.
I feel like that's more to do with, he's seen that there's a lot of money in like Europe and America, etc. Let's just bring it all back to Western Africa and let's try and do something with it. And now as well, where he's partnering with other countries to, like, for example, he recently did a partnership with Jamaica where Jamaicans don't need to get a visa to come into Ghana. And all those little partnerships and him being the head of what I've just said is going to make the introduction of crypto, etc. a little bit easier if he remains in place. However, we know that a lot of decisions that are made by these presidents or whatnot
get reversed.
They get reversed, and also they need the backing of the whole team. And a lot of these are old leaders who obviously take brown envelopes and all of those kind of stuff.
That's my concern, but my kind of question is how that looks like. Or
people fear what they don't know and what they don't understand. And I think especially older generation, that's the reality. It's different. It's problematic. It's this weird internet money that you can send, but I can't track who sent it, where's it coming from, and and then also if you're, and I think that's what it is. I think that's part of the challenge is if you have people who are effectively not looking to the future in the same way, making regulatory decisions about the future, it becomes a problem. I don't. If I speak about it, I suddenly realized that my African child is coming out. Where I don't want to speak all of my elders. But ultimately, that's what it is, right? Is that question of do they want care? Do they also have time to start to learn about this, or is this the time for them to actually look to the fact that said there's so much investment coming to the space. You have a lot of US companies looking and saying there's something here. And for them to actually say, how do we galvanize and support innovation in the space and actually make it easier to, because if you look at, I almost asked the question of, when we look at the different economies in Africa, a lot of what we're based on is on old industries that are dying out. So oil and gas is a common one, so if we look into a sustainable future, can we still rely on certain industries? Can we start looking for new industries? some guys who have always known oil and gas their whole life. You have to explain them.
Yeah. Crypto,
into money and fintechs, and
they'll tell you that's not physical. I don't want to hear it. It's not tangible.
Exactly. They bought land. These people who bought land. You're going to explain to them. Maybe you could build data centers on your land, and you could have solar. That's a different discussion, right?
We've got a live example of whether or not crypto and the whole solar panel thing will happen. So Akon, he's introducing Akon City, something that's been in the works for a few years now. Whether or not that works, that will be the true test.
I'm very skeptical about that one.
I've heard about it, but I don't know.
I'm not taking more credit from China, and
I'm very skeptical about that one.
Even with the whole crypto, etc., him building Akon City, he's going to have to educate Africans back home to use crypto, and even how the solar panels and all of those kind of stuff it works. So that's like a trial for like pretty much some of Africa.
Yeah, but you find that a lot of the young generation, if you're on Twitter and you follow the African tech scene, it's full of so much energy.
100%.
It's amazing. It's literally one of my favorite things on Twitter. So I actually prefer it to the Silicon Valley one, because Silicon Valley guys are just, again, I don't know.
So it's about money now in Silicon Valley. That's literally what it's about. Funding around this VC round and all this.
If you think about it, I always say, if you watch a person who has very limited resources, give them little and see what they can do with it. And I think sometimes these guys and they're doing amazing things, So that's what they're building these businesses, So for me, it's the next generation. So it's about, we're looking to the future, looking at the next generation, what they're building and who they're building it for, and who sees the value in it.
Yeah.
If the government and the governors or whoever don't see the value, the
market will.
Exactly.
The market will. And the market is a strong force.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing, man, for all investors, is look and see what's happening there, see what you can invest in, because there's so much activity happening.
So much
more than I even thought about. So only even when I started looking into for this episode, how many people are doing various different things, credit, payments, POS, like point of sale, basically, so you can shop easier and whatnot. Every kind of issue or friction that the African economies have had, or the countries within Africa have had, can be removed with technology. And that's my only question is making sure we have the right infrastructure and getting around regulators. Really.
Yeah, and I, again, just to go back, infrastructure is definitely improving. Even for me, like the business I run, I outsource a lot of the work, like our heavy lifting, our heavy editing goes back to Ghana now, simply because of the fact that we now have access to better internet now. They can actually download 100 gigabyte files, whereas before, it's going to cost your arm and a leg and it's going to take forever. Now it's £15 a month, same as here, and it's doable, So infrastructure is
because that could even be an opportunity to invest in. If what companies looking to do the next thing in infrastructure, are they going to try to do it differently? Are the data centers going to be in different places or anything like that? It's what needs to happen and how can you get a piece of it? That's how my mind works.
Yeah, there's a I can't remember the guy's name. The guy from Love Island's older brother.
Oh, Michael.
Borting.
Oh no, his older brother. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but he's set up an office in Ghana, and they outsource work from here. So virtual assistants he has out there.
Watched the video.
You've probably seen that video. And he's
that's his brother. Oh yeah. I thought that was an amazing business model.
Literally, they have software. Not developers. Web developers. Okay. They've got virtual assistants. They've got like lots of digital accountants, digital services that you might not want to pay for here. Like it's 10 times cheaper there, basically. So it just makes sense. Do you know what I mean? The infrastructure is there.
It's interesting. So there was a post that was trending on Twitter a while back, a few weeks back, or a couple of months now, where it was a Nigerian-based engineer developer who was offered a role in a Silicon Valley-based business, but they were looking to pay him fractionally less than he would have if it was in America. So for your location, I think he was making good money for Nigeria.
Yeah, I think I was.
But it was fractionally a lot less than he would have made if it was in America. So the whole discussion then became about exploitation. Then came up. We're saying we're getting the skill sets, the experience that we need, but now we're paying a lot less. I mean, for me personally, I was like, listen, I could see both sides. I could understand why the guy took the job as well.
Yeah,
I can see both sides. I don't think it's exploitation the same way, but that's something that came up for a lot of people.
I have a counter argument for not even an argument, just a discussion point. So for me, the way I saw it was the individuals that I personally employed finished university and were literally sitting around.
That's exactly
for 2 years.
Exactly.
Do you understand? So I don't want to sound like disrespectful to them, but that is what the situation was. So for me, I saw it as I was providing them with opportunity, and they were getting very competitive. For me, the cost here was like miles cheaper than what I would pay someone here to do the work. But for them, they were getting paid what banking people would get paid, like tellers and stuff would get paid. So for me, it made sense. For them, it made sense. For me, it made sense, and it just added up. Do you know what I'm saying? So to someone here, they will see it as exploitation, but to somebody there who's actually seeing the money and able to, remember the purchasing power is different there.
Exactly.
Do you understand?
Exactly.
So to them, they're actually making very good money. Do you understand? So
the reason why I say that, I actually believe that. So again, when we look at future opportunities, I think it's an opportunity for a lot more professional services-based stuff in Africa. If you think about it, for a long time, a lot of these services went to India.
I was going to touch on that.
So language barrier difference. I worked a lot of outsourced teams in India. Language barrier different, time zone different. Even when people are working, because some of the teams will work your time zone too. I feel I'm like,
it's deep for them.
Exactly.
It's deep for them.
Midnight.
Why are you still working?
So bad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But then I look at West Africa, and also there's been discussion about Jamaica for the same thing. I'm like, the first language in most of the West African countries is either going to be French or English. The time zone difference is a lot more easy, especially in West Africa.
1 hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So easier time zone difference, speak the language, have better sense of the culture. And, so to me, again, my thing was just that same reasons. Actually, professional services like that make sense to outsource to Africa. Another way to get flow of capital.
Yeah, 100%.
Because again, you have graduates who haven't got jobs for 2, 3, 4 years. And that's just...
And that's the same problem we have in Jamaica. You have graduates, the education system, and that's one thing that surprised me when I went out there as a young kid. They're probably better educated than we are here.
100%.
But 100%. They leave their education having
They even speak better English.
I listened to this podcast called The Fix. It's like a Jamaican podcast on like reggae music or whatever. And there's the amount of words they use where I have to go and Google that word in my vocabulary,
No, it's mad. It's actually mad,
But they just don't have the jobs there. So I think I wouldn't call it exploitation. But if you can pay more, I don't know. But as you say, it's down to the market dynamics. If they're willing to work for that and they can survive on it, then
it's always exploited them if you're paying them below what they earn.
What they're supposed to be earning
to live and survive.
Exactly.
You
know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So the next conversation needs to be about how do we get more work to them, or how do we set up there, and transfer some wealth back there, because that is our. You know what I'm saying? That's our origin. So we have to also...
and I like that, because at the minute it's probably mainly going to be by remittance, right? We're sending money by Western Union or whatever.
Yeah.
We have better services now than Western Union.
Whatever. I still have Western Union.
You need to jump on those fintechs. I'll show you a few.
No, but when I say send money back there, I don't mean just send the money to them. I mean, how do we get work to them?
No, but that's what I'm trying to say. Instead of just sending them money, is that
now
next
we
step
can
now,
actually...
what you say, providing them work, you know what I mean? And actually building into infrastructure and
that's it.
Making Africa be what we want it to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Do we need to go there physically? Go and build offices?
I believe strongly in the idea of you can't... I believe two things. I believe one, to make change, you need to have a lived experience. So which means that it's very easy to not fall into the savior complex. We're in the West and we have all this greatness and there's to you. It's actually going there, understanding what people actually want and need, and then working alongside them to deliver it.
Yeah, I agree.
I hear that.
Because otherwise, you just become another NGO, another foundation that comes along and says,
"Become a gentrifier."
Exactly. Hey, little black people, we're here to save you. We don't want to. You don't want to have that same mentality. It's actually they're coming back and say, okay, how do we become a part of the system rather than come and tell the system what it should be?
You hear that a lot,
Yeah.
You hear that a lot of people saying that's not what they want. They want you to come and be a part of it. Don't come and save us. As we've already discussed, doing loads out there already.
Yeah.
There's smart, capable people out there already.
Yeah.
And we can't go there with our Western attitude thinking we're going there to save them.
Yeah.
They're probably better educated than us.
100%.
They have a different hunger and drive.
Indeed.
It's a different hustle. Indeed. And I say, and that's what for me is actually going, spending time, understanding the system, understanding the culture, because you have to remember, for those of us who've been here for so long, you know, as much as we think we are, when we land back home, realize that we're foreigners.
Yeah.
You know, so
definitely.
So it's really trying, how do you go back and how do you assimilate and how do you integrate and then how do you help build together, as opposed to go back and go, here's Moses coming down from the mountain, some tablets.
Yeah.
You know, we're here to save you.
Nah, it's true.
Yeah, just to round up everything, just a recap is we feel like fintech is going to change the world, especially within Africa. Like we said with Square and Jack Dorsey, we feel like he's taken a major step with Twitter, experimenting with Twitter HQ being in Africa. And we feel like he's going to later on move Square. We also touched on the fact that cryptocurrency is something that will be introduced in Africa. However, there may be some barriers, some
pushback.
Some pushbacks. And then the final point was to do with infrastructure as well,
and making sure we're able to get things that will work out there for the people back home.
That's it. So just before we round up, just a quick yes or no.
Okay.
Literally, I'm gonna throw out 3 or 4 different modes of tech, etc., and you just say yes or no. Is it going to change Africa? Is it going to be introduced? So just yes or no.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I'll start with drones and drone technology when it comes to delivering goods and services. So is it yes or no? So I'll start to my right. Yes or no?
I think I want to say yes, but not anytime soon.
Okay, cool. We move on.
Yes, the cost of creating drones have gone down quite substantially. And then it's going to be for other things that we might not even consider. I think one of the use cases I saw was blood, I think something like blood samples, you know, so be able to get it from someone's home directly to a lab and so on and so forth. So there'll be certain things. I don't think it will be to where it might be in other places, but I think, we'll see some use cases.
Yeah, so same thing with what you just said. I don't think it will be just commercial use cases. I think it will be more like what you just said, like blood samples and important things, not just shopping.
You know what I'm saying? One guy, I used to see him test one when I was living in Lewisham. He used to test one around the way for ages.
Or delivery?
No, like he had this little drone and he was like literally, he would just follow it around where it's, I don't know what it was supposed to be going to deliver. But I could see him testing. I don't know if it was a private thing or whatever, but my whole thing is like damage, can it be stolen, all that kind of stuff. Those are the things you have to get around before I think we get mass adoption of drones.
If Amazon starts drone stuff, there'll be so much robberies, bro.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Ridiculous. Not in White City Estate. Bro, it'll become the norm. You know what I'm saying? There are drone signal interceptors that you can't buy it, but the police have it. And they can bring down your drone without shooting it down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the second one, solar and like the whole solar panel, solar everything, solar energy. Do you feel like it's gonna yes or no?
Change the world?
Yeah.
Ooh. Change the world.
Change the world, change Africa.
I would say yes. So we've got to push towards sustainable energy anyway. Like climate change is becoming more and more of a thing. I think everyone recognizes it now with what the weather's like in this country. There's abundance of sun on the continent. I think my only hesitation is it the best source of energy, and now there are other alternatives. So if you're in a particular part of the continent where there's massive water, is hydro better? If you're in a place where it's flat land, is wind better? I don't know if it just has to be solar, but I think it will play a part.
I don't know enough about what's already been done for me to answer that correctly. The anecdotal data tells me yes, because we have a lot of sun.
That's what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean?
But then at the same time, I don't think about barriers to entry. Establishing it. One of you talked about earlier. Just again, oil and gas has been the industry people focus on for a long time. I think if it came into play, it'll probably be the same energy providers who will push it. We haven't got rid of generators in Nigeria. So the idea of solar panels still seems quite far-fetched to me in terms of what you can do.
I don't think on its own.
For me, I think it's about cost. So if the cost makes sense, then the market will adopt it. If it doesn't, the market never will.
Okay. And the last one, it's an interesting one. So it's yes or no. Specifically in Africa, EV. So for anyone who doesn't know, electric vehicles.
Boy. So EVs are coming, no doubt. And it's difficult for me to answer this one without really knowing the lay of the land out there. But anecdotally, I'd say maybe once the infrastructure catches up, because we haven't got the infrastructure even here in terms of charging infrastructure, right? And we already have reliable, widespread electricity. So first of all, you need that on the continent. I don't know what it's like, in areas. And then once you've got reliable electricity, you then now need the charging points, which isn't easy to get. So I think we may see a delay. It's just how quick we can close that gap. You know what I mean? I don't know. So I think it's coming, but similar to my last answer.
I see it in the Caribbean.
Yeah, but only to a select few, you know? Only to a select few. I think there are kind of middle class and wealthy people, maybe. But I just don't know if we'll get the numbers enough maybe to warrant it. But I can imagine someone in Jamaica wanting a Tesla, for sure. Even if it's just for the gram.
Literally.
Gosh, this one is it's a no for me based on current. So when I think about what's required to support the EV, again, the infrastructure, the systems, it's depends. There might be I think another thing to probably even consider is that when we think about EVs, not necessarily EVs, we see like a Tesla. There's other types, right? So there might be something which makes sense. Again, when I talk about the continent, the infrastructure, the system, there might be something that makes sense for there. Right now, I don't see it. Again, goes back to the whole point of when you haven't got constant electricity in some countries, when you got sitting in traffic idly for hours in another country, if I'm thinking I've only got X amount of hours of charge, I'm just sitting in traffic. What's this?
Definitely.
So to me, it's kind of like the social issues I start asking myself about. So I think there could be an EV solution somewhere along the way. I mean, EV is barely even penetrated over here anyway. And so I think it could be something, but something probably it might just be a different type from what we've seen so far. But I'd really love to see. What I really love to see is something that was created by Africans in Africa. If it was going to be as opposed to something that was imported into them.
Gotcha. I agree.
Yeah, for me, I think it's twofold. Number one, what you said, it's going to be accessible to the select few who are able to afford the charging, constant electricity in their homes. The second thing is, I do think penetration is possible if the right EV comes, which is where the Renault Zoe comes into it, because it's the cost-wise, it's quite similar to, these small Ubers that we have in Ghana. It's quite similar to that, and it's fully electric. So if they push the Renault Zoe into Africa, then it's very possible there could be wide penetration, especially for Uber drivers. If they don't and they go down the hole pushing the expensive ones first, like the Teslas and the Audis, then it's only going to be select few.
For me, I would say I don't feel like enough companies are considering Africa, the Caribbean as an option at the moment. I feel like they're focused so much on Europe, the US and China,
and India as well,
and India. So I feel like a lot of companies are focused more on the banking system, and the EV sector is just something that is secondary. It's just
it almost feels like there's maybe other priorities.
Definitely.
And the main one you said is traffic. And I hear that often that there's mad traffic involved, especially in Nigeria and Ghana, like fixing the roads or creating more roads. I don't know. It feels like there may be other things we need to do, but I just think, anecdotally looking at it, I think in our lifetimes it will become a thing, because I just think EVs are coming in general.
They're coming. And I guess when we kind of say that, we had to consider Africa beyond just the west of Africa. South Africa's probably got better infrastructure systems. Everything we're talking about, that
very true.
Even the north, you go to somewhere like Morocco.
Exactly.
They're pretty much ready for it.
Exactly.
Once they get rid of the horse and carriage, get rid of that first.
There might even be little spots. Where they'll have EVs, but it's undeniable. Very much undeniable.
Cool.
So thank you guys for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you for having us, man.
Shared a lot of gems today. We learned a lot. Discussed a lot as well, which is good.
Again, same. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope we'll be able to do this soon and come on your platform at some point as well.
Definitely.
Share some information.
Sure.
For the viewers, we hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Please let us know what you think in the comments. Please like the video, send it to your aunties and that. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.